Welcome to The Explainer. So, Britain's political landscape? It might have just fractured forever. The local elections on May 7th delivered results that, honestly, nobody fully saw coming. We're talking about a genuine political earthquake that literally sent shockwaves through Westminster and completely redrew the electoral map.
Which brings us to a really bold question. Is the traditional two-party system actually over? Ordinary folks are looking at these results and seriously wondering if Keir Starmer's position as Prime Minister is safe at all? And beyond the Westminster bubble, what does this massive shift mean for you? We're talking about your job, your rent, and the broader economy.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to break this down into 5 quick sections. 1. The political earthquake. 2. Why did Labour lose? 3. Impact on the economy. 4. The immigration factor. And 5. What happens next? All right, Section 1. The political earthquake. Let's look at the epicenter of those shock election results from May 7th across England, Scotland, and Wales. Plus 1,200. Nigel Farage's Reform UK was the undeniable, absolute biggest winner of the night. Gaining over 1,200 council seats is just a staggering feat. I mean, it allowed them to take control of several councils that experts never, ever imagined they could win. But to really grasp the sheer scale of this earthquake, you have to contrast that with this, minus 1,000. Keir Starmer's Labour government suffered a massive, disastrous loss of over 1,000 councillors. And hey, they weren't alone. The Conservatives bled seats heavily too, which really signals a profound, nationwide rejection of the major traditional parties.
And this brilliantly illustrates the shift. Look at these hyper-local examples. The most symbolic moment? For sure, it was Reform UK taking control of Sunderland. Now, Sunderland is a city practically synonymous with decades of absolute Labour dominance. And Reform replicated this exact surge in places like Newcastle-under-Lyme, Tameside, Hartlepool, Essex, Suffolk, and Gateshead.
So, the traditional two-party system is visibly, demonstrably fracturing right before our eyes. And it wasn't just Reform UK making waves either. The Liberal Democrats gained serious ground in southern England. The Greens surged, and Plaid Cymru made absolute history by ending Labour's long dominance in Wales. Voters are clearly, actively searching for new political homes.
Moving on to Section 2. Why did Labour lose? Let's look at the fault lines of this earthquake. So, why did a Labour government face such serious backlash after all those years of Conservative problems? The sources point to 4 main drivers. First up, the unrelenting cost of living crisis. People are looking at their grocery bills, their energy meters, their rent, and they're just feeling financially stranded. Second, immigration concerns. There's a really strong belief out there that Labour just hasn't managed the borders effectively. Third, a deep, bubbling, anti-establishment frustration. And finally, Nigel Farage's powerful communication strategy focusing on national identity. Reform UK brilliantly positioned itself as the anti-establishment alternative for working-class areas that actually used to back Labour.
Let's move to Section 3, Impact on the Economy. It's time to see how this builds into the broader aftershocks.
Because here's the thing. Financial markets absolutely hate uncertainty. If investors start believing Britain is becoming politically unstable following these results, businesses might just delay vital long-term investments. We could also see decreased confidence bleeding right into the housing market, directly affecting property investments and mortgages. Plus, as the major parties panic and try to win back these frustrated voters, they often promise quick tax cuts or more public spending. That reaction puts immense pressure on government borrowing. So these political results, they are intimately connected to the everyday financial pressures you feel at home. Looking specifically at Reform UK's economic platform, which pushes for aggressively lower taxes and reduced regulations, we see a sharp ideological divide. On one side, supporters argue that this approach will supercharge British jobs, unshackled businesses, and stimulate rapid economic growth. But on the flip side, critics warn that coupling this deregulation with strict immigration rules will trigger severe labor shortages, essentially starving businesses that rely on a steady worker pipeline.
So the crucial point is this. If immigration policies become strictly tightened, foundational UK industries, healthcare, social care, agriculture, hospitality, and logistics could hit an immediate wall. These specific sectors are basically built on the day-to-day backbones of migrant workers. Which perfectly transitions us into Section 4, the immigration factor. This was undoubtedly one of the most emotional themes of the 2026 election.
If Reform UK's national influence continues to force changes in policy, border controls could drastically tighten. We're looking at a potential future of much stricter visa rules, heavily toughened asylum policies, increased deportations, and severely reduced migration targets across the board.
Again, we are presented with 2 very distinct arguments here.
Supporters of tighter borders argue it is literally the only way to alleviate massive pressure on housing and NHS services while also protecting local wages. Conversely, critics raise a massive red flag. They warn it will cripple struggling sectors, worsen those labour shortages we just talked about, and ultimately stagnate the country's overall economic growth.
The most critical flashpoint in this whole debate is the NHS. The National Health Service is deeply, fundamentally reliant on an international workforce: nurses, doctors, carers, essential support staff. If sudden, strict immigration policies are implemented, it risks drastically worsening the critical staffing shortages that are already plaguing the healthcare system. It has to be managed perfectly.
Let's zoom back out for Section 5. What happens next? Time to look at the immediate future of the country.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that British politics is currently staring down three highly unpredictable paths before the next general election. Option 1, Starmer survives. He holds on, the economy improves, and Labour recovers its footing. Option 2, reform becomes a national force. Farage takes this massive momentum and turns it into undeniable, sweeping parliamentary power. Or Option 3, a hung parliament, where no single party wins a majority, plunging the country into an era of deep political instability.
So what does this all mean? What is the core takeaway for the everyday person? It's that ordinary voters are deeply frustrated, financially pressured, and feeling totally disconnected from mainstream Westminster politics. Whether your loyalty lies with Labour, the Conservatives, Reform, or anyone else, the undeniable truth is that the traditional balance of power in Britain is changing at lightning speed.
Which leaves us with one final, unavoidable question to wrap up this explainer. Is Nigel Farage the future of British politics? Or will the traditional parties find a way to reinvent themselves and recover? I really encourage you to think deeply about this. Does the UK still need migrants to prop up its economy? Or is a fundamental shift in national identity actually happening? The landscape has changed forever, and the final map is completely unwritten. Thank you for joining me. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.